I love that you've said experiments, because when I first started in business, I was like, is it right or is it wrong? And then I very quickly learned business is an experiment and there absolutely is no failure. You're just getting feedback. So you're always learning, something that you didn't know before. And then I always ask myself, okay, great. Now I know something I didn't know before. How could this be useful to me? So that has really, because business is our best teacher. So having that mindset initially about experimentation has been really, really important for me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Healthy Business Lab podcast, where we interview amazing allied health and related business owners to learn their experiences, stories, experiments, and transformations. And today I'm super, super excited to have Leesa Tuffnell on the episode today. Leesa, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm very excited to be here too.
We've had many chats over time, and that's why I know there's just so much that's going to be shared on here. There's going to be nuggets of gold here, there, and everywhere. But I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the audience a little bit of your background in the allied health space.
Well, as you said, I am Leesa Tuffnell. I am the creator of the Mindful OT. So I've been an occupational therapist for more than 20 years. And in that time, I've had lots of different roles. So quality assurance, product management, a clinical supervisor, clinical efficiencies manager. So as well as doing the clinical, I've also held operational roles within teams, and as well as that sort of support service role. So I did that for a really long time. Loved it, maybe too much. Burnt myself out. And so that happened when I was sort of in my early 40s. And as testing times, they kind of, maybe make us more aware of something we perhaps hadn't seen before. So for me, when that point in my life came, it was really dramatic. It really put the brakes on. I'm always someone who's worked with real urgency and very outcomes focused and driven and doing all the things. And then I literally just had to stop. I was bedridden for a few weeks in hospital. And yeah, it just made me, I suppose, reimagine my life and what that was going to look like. So I decided to make the leap into self-employment a few years ago and created my own business. So I do a bit of work clinically. I still work in that space, but what has evolved for me has been my own coaching business. And so what I primarily do now is I coach OT sole traders and small practice and clinic owners to build businesses that love them back. So businesses that are really sustainable and values aligned and profitable. And I use all of my experience, I suppose, in that corporate space. And then I essentially also use my own lived experience of what it takes to start from scratch. And yeah, so that brings me to today's podcast.
Yeah, that's brought, again, a great insight into the vastness of your experience, background, and a very holistic view of what you do and how you do it. And again, there's a bunch of things we'll unpack off the bits of what you shared there. But something I'll touch upon there is I love to share the stories of with your occupational therapy background, skills and expertise. You teach and you educate clients in different ways. What part of that training have you used or leveraged in being a business owner as well? And sometimes they're the things that we often forget to do ourselves at different points. And we teach about it all the time. I know I teach about money and I
Yeah.
don't follow my advice sometimes. But with that expertise, what do you think is translated into business that you've used, to be able to do what you do in business as well?
There is so much. And honestly, like I kind of go, the more I go into it, the more I'm like, that is so helpful. things like from my operational background and thinking about forecasting and casebook planning, that so much comes into how to manage day-to-day referral capacity and workflows. KPIs are things that, often we shy away from as employees, but actually having customized KPIs in my own business really helps to guide me and to keep things steady and structured. So for me, structure is what creates space and freedom. It's what supports my business when maybe, I'm a human being and sometimes things feel a little bit wobbly. So having the background I have in processes, policies, structures, systems has so supported me. But then when it comes to OT and clinical OT, there is so much of that I use. I'm very much what's the SMART goal? And then that's the outcome I'm wanting to achieve. So let's work backwards from that. So what does that look like in my business? The other really huge thing for me has been all around emotional regulation, which some people may not think is front and center of their business, but for me, it has been. It's been huge. And I
Yeah,
don't.
I'll just touch upon that. I think that's that notion, and it's probably something that I've become super, super aware of myself. Obviously, neurodivergent family here, and that, the awareness of regulation and the like, and being able to manage the ups and downs and the flows of that. And you touch upon, obviously, you shared a story of being in burnout. Is that part of the trigger that then goes, oh, as I do this now, I don't want to end up back in that space. And
Yeah, I think leading up to that, like I was like a lot of OTs that I speak to and work with, we're very good at helping others to regulate and set strategies and co-regulate and all those sorts of things. And we're absolutely terrible at doing it myself, and almost to a point where I felt a little bit fraudulent. Because the way I regulated is not how I, taught other people to regulate. And that is what led me to a place of burnout. So, and that is also like the very foundation of what got me past my burnout. It wasn't the physical stuff, it was going in first and being able to regulate and learning how to do that in ways that I was not taught at uni. So I got additional support, psychology, somatic coaching. I became a yoga teacher and a meditation trainer and things like that. So it was really that whole evolution of self-discovery and doing all the inner work that brought me to a place where I was like, I want to show this to other OTs. And that's actually where I first started in my business. It wasn't around hitting KPIs and, building a business strategy. It was around creating really regulated therapists. Because as soon as I became regulated or understood what that looked like for me, the doors opened for me. And I was like, I would love to do this. It had never even been a thought in my mind, but because I was able to regulate, it gave me the space to be able to lean into that. And I'm so glad. And I just think the best businesses are the ones that are run by the most regulated people. Not that they never get dysregulated. We are human beings, but it's about noticing, checking in, and then having practical strategies that work for you. So that's a big part of how I OTs in business is
yeah,
actually regulation.
that's brilliant, and I love it, and that's that whole idea of OTs generally, and even other allied health practitioners that learn about these things do have skills in their toolbox because they're usually so well educated in a lot of these things. It's coming back to those and reminding them that we can use them for ourselves, and that's, again, the quote there for me, I wrote down that I just had to get down there, was the really regulated therapist. And we all know that if we turn up in that space as a regulated human being, we're going to give the best version of ourselves that we can at any given point. And as you're going to get back to you before, are we going to get the outcomes towards the goals that we're trying to achieve for anybody and the like? So that's brilliant. I love that sort of little tying that together with the expertise into, ways that can enhance what you do. But we also love to talk here experiments, and you've already sort of shared a few little things there of, you can sort of see some of the experiments that you would have done through that process you just talked about with the regulation. But from the process of starting your own business and, going to the coaching space as well, what are some of the experiments that sort of initially come to mind that have, some of them may have worked, may not have worked, but we've learned from them? What are a couple of the highlight experiments that you've done over the years?
I love that you've said experiments because when I first started in business, I was like, is it right or is it wrong? And then I very quickly learned business is an experiment and there absolutely is no failure. You're just getting feedback. So you're always learning, something that you didn't know before. And then I always ask myself, okay, great. Now I know something I didn't know before. How could this be useful to me? Because business is our best teacher. So having that mindset initially about experimentation has been really, really important for me. And the other thing I would say there is don't make hard wrong. I did that really early on. And business was not fun, satisfying, but now it is because I have that different mindset. So lots of experiments. When I first started in business for myself, I created a course, like an online course. I'd never done anything like that before. I'd done training. I'm a certified trainer and assessor. I'd done all of that. But to be able to create something from scratch, this is back before ChatGPT. So
Yeah.
everything written from scratch and then being able to record that. I was a woman. Like if you look on my camera roll, there are no photos of me. There are just photos of my husband and my children. Like, oh, missing tomorrow. There's nothing to stick on the milk carton. So, even facing the fear of having to have my face on a training video to then have that sit in a website. Like I always, thought I was not a techie person. Isn't it amazing what you can do when you just kind of have a go and you experiment? So creating a website and doing all of that. And then what I thought was marketing back then, which was a couple of posts in a Facebook group, things like that. So they were all experiments and then experimenting with a business model that involved one-on-one coaching and then getting booked out with that and going, okay, well, this is a good problem to have. So how can I use that? And then literally, building out a membership and all of like it's just constantly been an experiment.
Constant experiments. I absolutely love it, as you know, as somebody who loves your experiment as well. But again, even your phraseology of these are always just about getting feedback, which again, on the clinical side of what you do, you're doing that all the time as well. So there's another little tie into that idea of tuning into that idea of every single thing, every single conversation, every whatever it is feedback, and to be able to go, what do we learn from that? The reflection time and those sorts of things. You absolutely love it. And also the don't make hard wrong, which again comes back to even what you were saying at the start, the idea of no right or wrong. We don't need to have black and whites in business. And there's so many grey areas that is all open to interpretation. So
That's the other reason why regulation is like front and center in that mindset bit for me, because every time you do something new, your brain obviously is like, going,
yep.
we're going to die. The physiological stress response kicks in. And so we go back to a place of comfort. So doing something new, like starting a business, you're scared a lot. You're scared of not being accepted or rejected or having nobody come and do your course or whatever it might be, having your business fail. Those are things, that discomfort that sits with us in business. And I don't think that changes. That's not been my experience. It doesn't get less scary the longer you've been in it. It's just more like your capacity to sit in the discomfort is what improves. So that's why I think, again, regulation is so important. I know so many OTs who've got these amazing ideas and then they're like, but I couldn't do that because it wouldn't work for me. So once again, when we get into the regulation bit, once we're regulated, just having a plan one step at a time, next minute they look up and they go like, oh my God, I've done the thing. I've done the thing I never thought I could do.
Yeah,
And that's been the same for myself as well.
that's cool. You mentioned the marketing. It's like what I thought was marketing. I'd love for you to unpack that a little bit in as much as, what's one of the main sort of experiments that, you loved, that worked well, that you really got a lot of feedback from? And again, may not have been all smooth sailing, but I'd love to deep dive into marketing. I'll put it in inverted commas there.
It's something, we're not taught at uni, marketing. And 20 years ago, when I graduated from uni, none of us went out and worked for ourselves. You didn't do that until you were very, very well established in the game. So I wasn't given those skills at uni. So for me, I started years ago This group has now got thousands of OTs from all across the world in it, but it's our private Facebook group called the Mindful OT. I started that years ago with probably 15 of my closest OT friends. And as I said, now it's thousands of people in the group. And so I started that. So that was an experiment. Craig, I didn't even have my own Facebook account, personal one, until I was like 30 something. So for me to go from not even having any social media preference, a sort of presence,
Yes. Yep.
to then all of a sudden I've got this Facebook group and I'm posting stuff in the Facebook group. And then I was doing, I still do Facebook lives with, regularly in the group to give training and things like that. All of that was an experiment. But you don't know what you don't know. But it became very clear to me early on. Like there was great feedback. Oh, Leesa, that's a great post. And I got lots of DMs and things like that. We had great conversations and people were always joining the group. So that's nice. And that's good feedback. But I sort of realized I don't know what marketing is, and that's not a problem because it is just a skill that can be learned. I learned how to be a great OT. I learned how to assess, write reports, intervene. I can probably also learn how to market. So that's when I went and got specific support. And I've been working with amazing, marketing specialists for years. And that's when you go, oh, wow. I didn't know that. Like, as I said, the first time I put my course out there, I think it was probably like 3 Facebook posts. And now I'm like, oh, that is a drop in the ocean. Now there's, we get to do marketing really holistically. There's so many levers we can pull. Do we need to pull them all at the same time? No.
Yeah,
But
and that's what I'll probably
yes,
say that.
strategically pull the levers based on where you're at, where your business is, what your goals are. But to me, I didn't even know that there were levers at the
Yeah.
start, and you just
Yeah.
kind of amble your way through.
Yeah, and I love that though, but I think you've shown, even in that short space, obviously the different options and even opportunities at the different stages, because going from 0 to 3 posts for an event is actually quite big. And yeah, I love to talk in percentage terms. It's like, well, going from 1 for 3, that's like 300%. At the end of the day.
Right.
So that's, yeah, I know you love to take my stuff. Yeah, but it's just that thinking of, oh, yeah, that actually acknowledge it. It's a big deal for me to do this, and this is my version of marketing. But even, again, a group, creating and curating a group, again, a step that can be taken, which I'm guessing when you first did it and you got 15 of your closest buddies around to do it, you're like, oh, let's just do this and we'll have a chat, we'll see what happens. And then to think, again, that's one small step. The next 15 people come on because each one of those people tell one other person or something like that. And then all of a sudden, you've gone 200%. You've doubled things over and over to now, like if you chart over that time, and how long are we talking here? A few years for your Facebook group? How old's your Facebook group say now?
I'm gonna say I should know this, but it's at
You
least
don't should know.
probably at least 4, maybe 5 years old.
Yeah. There we go. 4 to 5 years, and you're in the thousands now. So even starting from 15, double, 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 double.
Yeah.
Basically, to get to that kind of level every 3 to 6 months potentially over time, it's probably even more. It's probably every 3 months, doubling in that time. And you just sort of go, putting anything out and sharing, just education, which is what it sounds like you're doing in the group there, and building community and education. That's still marketing. And I think it's that interesting thing, which no doubt you've learned more probably than me on this, so I'm not going to delve deep onto that. But again, I love the experimentation and then your own education to go, oh, okay, now's the right time to learn a little bit more because I'm doing it A, B, C, Y. So that's so cool. And again, now I'll probably go into some of the operations side of things as well, as far as operations or delivery. You take it whichever way you go, but pick one of those as far as other experiments that you've learned from along the way.
Well, I think there was a couple of things actually that have held me in good stead. So I did a product management and service development role years ago. And part of that, it was like I always said, it's kind of like we're building the car while we're driving it. And that is scary because at the time I was like, why can't we just develop this service and then release it? Why are we developing and doing and everything else? And now I know exactly why we do it that way, because you get feedback as you go. Otherwise, you could spend a very long time and a lot of money and a lot of energy building a Porsche, and nobody wants a Porsche. They literally just want a Corolla. So, or the other way around, it doesn't matter. I like the idea of experimenting and building as you go, because then you get to develop something that is fit for purpose for the people it was intended. And you get to have them along on the journey and you get feedback straight away. I don't have to wait for feedback. I can just get feedback and then tweak and optimize as I go. So, even in terms of the membership, there was a need for that because, as I said, I was booked out with one-on-ones and I was the bottleneck in my business in one weekend. In one weekend, I built out a membership and I had that membership full within 7 days. And I didn't launch it at all. I didn't market a group. I simply already had a funnel, I suppose, or a pathway for people to come in, join the group, and help me build it together. And it's just grown and improved, and the quality and the curriculum, all those things, and the support people have provided. And then even in terms of you and I, like getting to work together, and I've, twisted Craig's arm, and I was like, this understanding, this financial brain care, this financial literacy, it is such a piece that is missing for us as OT, small business owners. But it's critical. And now I've learned that myself. I was like, this is amazing. We need to put this into my group, Craig. So let's come and we'll experiment. And we have done no planning. We just go, we know what we want this to look like. We kind of know the structure of it. Let's build as we go. Let's get people in and, who want to help us do that because they're going to get benefit along the way. So
Yeah.
that to me, it's exciting. Whereas, maybe a few years ago, I would have found it too frightening. I know a lot of OTs because I do help support OTs in the space of developing non-traditional, non-one-on-one services. And the big thing is I've got a million ideas. I need to build them all out perfectly, and then I need to launch. And I was like, oh, we don't have to do it. No.
Yeah, and I think that developing and doing is just a nice little simple way of phrasing it. And as somebody who works with software as well, that whole idea of don't build a whole heap of stuff that people aren't going to use, like get value from. I've done plenty of that in the software side of things, but again, have learned it's just do it smaller, iterate more, a massive, massive difference. But I think another key part of what you just touched upon there that I want to highlight is that how you identified yourself as a bottleneck as well. Again, that idea of having that reflection piece of doing that, it's something that some people may struggle with or identify or push it to the side because they're our babies of business. So we often want them to be certain things. And so that can come with plenty emotional and context to it as well. But I think you sharing that and just bringing the awareness to, hey, if I'm in a bottleneck, if I just focus in on that a little bit more, can you just sort of unpack that a little bit more for you, how you went about that, just to give people an insight of just
Well, I think
unpacking that?
firstly, I probably had a good idea that it was approaching that long before it hit that wall, which was another amazing learning for me, because business is an experiment, but it's also about moving quickly, moving before you think you're ready, and being able to regulate so you can, do that. So for me, I knew that I was approaching being fully booked out. So what I had done is taken my ideal day where I was like, I'm going to have this many sessions because, one-on-one coaching, it requires energy. I am there to be my best self, to help you. That is what you have signed on for, and we are going to do amazing things. And so what I was doing was adding in more sessions and still showing up as my best self. People are still getting amazing outcomes, but the break time for me, I was noticing of an afternoon. Yes, because I condensed my day. I only work school hours. So after I had picked up the kids, yes, I had worked school hours, but I felt a whole lot less energy and presence in my family life for a period there. But in my own head, I was saying private coaching helps me get people results. I may not be able to do that in group coaching. I may not be able to do it. Was all mindset stuff, just preventing me because, oh, Lisa, you're safe over here and you've got this great business model and you're doing really, really well. And why would you want to do something new? And then, yeah, the way it hit a wall was I was booked out for months in advance. I was having to turn people away or put them on a waiting list. They needed help now. And my whole vision and mission is to leave an afterglow and to be able to help as many sole traders as I can to build these really sustainable, profitable businesses so they can stay working in their communities and deliver amazing results to their clients, whilst also being able to enjoy their businesses and support their families. So if I can't do that, or if I'm telling somebody it's probably 3 to 4 months until I can get you in for your first call, like, that's not helping me. It's not helping them. It's not helping anyone's families or communities. So at that point, it was the line in the sand because of my calendar. And you know me, I'm a calendar girl. Everything's, beautifully organized in my calendar. And I'm like, well, it's not working for me.
That calendar, I love it, but I'm not loving it right now. So I
Loving
get that, yeah.
So I knew months before this happened that it was a likely possibility, as is with a one-on-one coaching model. Like, my choice was either to massively increase my prices, or it was to reimagine or structure how I was doing things. I didn't want to massively increase my prices because, as I said, my goal is impact. I want to help as many OTs as I can. So to me, that just didn't hit the values checklist that I had for myself. So I was like, right, Saturday morning, I said to my husband, could you please take the girls for the day, go and have a dad and daughter day? I am here and I'm building this out for the weekend. And I did that. I didn't have it all in there, but I had the basic modules, I had an outline, I had a platform, I had the structure, and I knew how I wanted to deliver that initially. And that's what we did.
Cool. And again, showing the idea of awareness into regulation, into focus, and then speed to make things happen because you've identified these things. And now shine a light on a comment you made there before of the leaving an afterglow. And again, we love to talk about transformations to round out our podcast episodes. I love that if I talk the word transformations that you've seen, again, whether that's clinical or coaching or whatever comes to mind when I mention that. What's some of those things that give you the tingles or an example that you can share with the audience?
I do. I literally get the tingles quite often because I get to work with amazing therapists. And there's so many examples, but I remember working with one beautiful OT, and she had been in business for over 5 years for herself. And she always felt like, she told me, I felt like I was failing my family. I was not contributing. I am working all the time, but the cash flow, she's still struggling to pay bills. She is very experienced OT. And she's like, she felt guilty, like she couldn't make this work because it was something that she was missing. It's not anything. She was just under-resourced in particular skills in terms of really optimizing her utilization, because we know when we optimize utilization, we optimize revenue. So straight away, we could go in there, and within one session, she was like, I've doubled my utilization. So she doubled her revenue, and she goes, I cannot believe how easy that was. So first of all, that just took the panic away from, can I afford this? Already, she's like, I've invested in myself for coaching. I just want a quick win. And that's what we got her. And then she was like, okay, I can pay my bills, like Maslow's hierarchy of need. We've sorted, we're feeling safe. So once we're feeling safe, then we can move towards, those aspirational goals. And then it became more about being able to structure her business, because being a sole trader does not mean that it is all about you. So you don't have to do it all on your own. And so when we put some structures and some systems in place, she felt like she had to be on less. So there was more time for her family. She could go back to going to Pilates, all the things that she wanted to do. Because we go into business for ourselves wanting these freedom businesses, but freedom does not just, appear because we work for ourselves. It requires intention and structure and some strategy. You don't have to have everything in the kitchen sink, just some basic things. And that's what we worked with. And she was like, this has completely changed the way she works, the way she lives, the way she contributes to her family. And another really amazing OT, this one makes me cry a little bit, but she had a clinic overseas. She and her husband were living overseas. She did well, it scaled, it burnt her out. When she came to Australia, and then they had some personal circumstances that required her to go into self-employment again, and she was a sole breadwinner. She was like, I know I can, but I don't want it to look like it did. did. That nearly killed me. Like, it was awful. So we just started slowly by slowly, just working on the basics. As I said, she's an amazing clinician. And within that 12 months, I knew it was a stretch for her to come and work with me. But at the end of the year, because we did a few rounds of coaching, like her husband said, tell Leesa that she is the best investment we made in our family, because they were on a fertility journey and they had not been able to explore that before because they did not have the financial means to do so. So being able to build a successful business for her meant that they could go and do that. So that is just so
Definitely, it's given me the tingles, and that's why we talk about these things and we want to share these stories with the listeners. And again, the best investment in family. Again, having those words, where I've experienced.
investing. It wasn't me. She invested in herself. She backed herself, and then she did the work, and now she loves her business. They've got holidays. They get to spend time together. And as I said, they've been able to go and have treatment that they weren't able to afford before. So to me, it's always good to say, oh, yes, I've got a multi-six-figure da-da-da.
Yeah.
But it's what that gives you. Like, she's now got, so much more freedom in terms of her time, her purpose. She's also creating other services to help, like, refugee population. She couldn't have done that before because she was just battling on, trying to day by day. Yeah, so it just really opens everything up and expands everything. They're the transformations, that you live for, and we see them all the time, which is amazing. Yeah.
And again, that's exactly what we want to share here, and ensuring that full circle of the expertise into experimenting, into the outcomes that we get, whether it's the direct clinical stuff or whether it's the how we support the wider networks that sit around whatever it is we do. Because again, coming back to the idea of reimagining the impact that we can have, there's so many good little gold nuggets and sound bites that our listeners can take away from this. And as you were just talking, that last little bit, I just wrote down here, it's the transformations, sort of underpinning that is the idea of just being able to resettle people's nervous systems. And as you've managed to do that, then people can just be themselves and explore the things and do the amazing stuff, which you're 100% and doing plenty of that, Leesa. And I really appreciate you sharing all your experience, knowledge, and transformations on the chat today. If people want to connect with you, where's the best place? Is it the private Facebook community? Where else? What are the places we need to be adding into the show notes?
What are the places? So the website is themindfulot.au, and then on the socials, we are The Mindful OT on Facebook with the private Facebook group, and Instagram, The Mindful OT AU. And on LinkedIn is Leesa Tuffnell.
Awesome. As always, we'll add those to the show notes so that all the listeners can connect with you, learn more from you, and keep on following the journey and following the experiments along the way, and ideally getting involved with those experiments, because feedback is key. So once again, really appreciate your time here today on the call, Leesa.
Thank you.
Catch you later, everybody. That's an over and out. And as always, like, subscribe, and do all those wonderful things to keep hearing amazing stories like this and connect with our amazing guests. They are awesome. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the Healthy Business Lab podcast. Make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with all the latest episodes.